Well, several candidates are running to replace Eric Garcetti as LA's mayor.
Yeah, it can be hard to sift through all the issues. So tonight we have some help. Joining us now with his insight into the race is Fernando Guerra, political science professor at Loyola Marymount University. Professor, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Chris.
All right, so a poll from Loyola earlier this month showed that Congresswoman Karen Bass is in the lead, followed by City Councilman Kevin De Leon and billionaire developer Rick Caruso in third. So after the recent televised debates, do you think anything has changed?
Oh, yeah, I think things have changed. In the poll by Loyola Marymount University, we actually had Karen Bass and De Leon in a statistical tie, and then Caruso statistically tied for third with Buscaino and Fior. Since there, Caruso made it official that he's in the race, number one. Number two, we've had several debates. And then number three, Rick Caruso has spent a lot of money on commercials. And another recent poll just released last week showed that he, in fact, had moved up and was very competitive. So the polls are going to continue to change until 10 weeks from this Tuesday, when we will have the election.
Inching closer every day. Now, each candidate says they have a plan to address the homeless crisis, a major issue for many voters, but politicians in LA have been saying that for years. Can any one of them actually get something done?
Everybody's got a great plan. I even have a great plan. There are a lot of ideas on how to address homelessness. The issue is implementation, building consensus, understanding that there are a lot of different agencies, federal, state, and local, that have to be involved, and the fact that there's a lot of stakeholders and people will sue and delay some of these tactics. So the idea that you can have a solution and you can just do it autonomously with all these other governmental, nonprofit, and private sector not playing a role is just ludicrous. It's going to be very difficult. Many of us could do a magic wand and solve this problem. The problem is that there's all kinds of other stakeholders who have different ideas.
Yeah, another big issue, public safety. It seems like people are talking about it no matter where you go, especially about the growing frequency. We have the follow home robberies, the smash and grabs that are still happening to this day. So who is best positioned to deal with that issue? Because as we all know, it's a controversial one.
I think all five major candidates have significant positions, and they vary. It depends on what you see, how you see the problem. While crime has increased over the last couple of years, it's still at a historic low, and it's not unique to LA. In fact, crime is higher in cities and states where Donald Trump won the election, in red states. So the idea that this crime wave is unique to Los Angeles, the data just doesn't show that. Also, the data doesn't show that more cops necessarily improve this situation. And so are you looking at it from a soundbite, very quick response, or are you looking at it for the long term? We're about to celebrate or mark the 30th anniversary of the riots. We are 100 times better off in terms of crime rates and safety than we were 30 years ago. But you wouldn't believe that from a lot of the campaigns and how they talk about public safety. Is it a problem? Yes. Is it historic? No. We're better off than actually most cities in America.
Yeah. And COVID, it has been such a big issue the last 2 years, still is. But do you think it will be a priority for voters this year, since case numbers are down and many restrictions have been lifted?
I mean, we are exhausted. We don't want to hear about COVID. You're not going to see really in the campaign that's going to be played up. However, the variant that we see in Europe may be hitting and may be having an impact in LA City, LA County by the time we vote on June 8th. All of a sudden, even though it's not a particular issue right now, it could be a major issue if, in fact, we have another surge. And that is the number one issue. Not what did you do in the past, but how are you going to prepare the city of Los Angeles for the next surge or the next pandemic that is surely to come, either next month, next year, or in 5 years.
All right. Well, Professor Guerra, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we just want to remind people, it's just 10 weeks away, the primary, June 7th. And of course, as Fernando Guerra said, we'll see what happens and how this all plays out. Should be interesting.